Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is get. And really, get is our verb of the week this week. This is part 3 in a 4-part series all about the verb get. In each of these videos, I'm beginning with a broad discussion of some general ways that people commonly use the verb get. And then we're doing deeper dives into different phrasal verbs. So if you want a more thorough explanation of these common definitions or more broad definitions, I'd encourage you to watch the beginnings of part 1 and part 2, and I'll link to those in the comments below. But I want to spend a second talking about how this verb get is used. And generally, I think of this verb as being pretty informal. So it's commonly used in conversation amongst friends and families. When I am in a more formal setting, so I'm doing more professional writing for work or for school, I will generally look to some of the other words that are being used here to help explain get. So, again, if I'm just talking with a friend, I think I'm getting a cold, right? But we might sort of elevate our language if we were writing a story that we want someone else to read, right? So she was experiencing a sore throat, right? That might be one way to essentially kind of enhance the sophistication to our writing or to our speaking. But again, I'm spending so much time talking about the word get because it is so common in spoken English. So again, if you want to pause the video here for a second, read my 4 broad definitions. You'll see some connections to these later. But I want to move on and remind everyone that get is an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, we need to double the T, and that is because our verb here has a consonant-vowel-consonant pattern. And we're doing that before we add the ing to form getting. The past tense form of this verb is spelled G-O-T, and it's pronounced got. In the participle form, though, you have 2 choices. If you're writing or speaking in England, however, I would encourage you to use got as your participle. In the US, you can and will hear both forms. I tend to use gotten, and I think that's sort of a product of what I heard from my teachers and family growing up, and that's just sort of ingrained in my brain. Now, let's spend some time looking at some additional meanings through the use of phrasal verbs. So this is part 5 out of 8 that we'll be looking at this week. And today we're going to start with the phrasal verb get in. This can have so many different meanings. We're going to look at 4 today to begin. So the first way you might hear get in used is to mean to arrive. Here's an example sentence. The flight gets in at 2 p.m. Okay? This is an example of the simple present. This might be the habit, the routine, this plane arrives each day at this particular time. A second way you might hear get in used is to enter an automobile. Right? So this could be a car, it could be a taxi, etc. Here's an example. Get in and we'll go to the store. So here, get in is the imperative. It's a command. We're telling somebody to enter or go inside the car. A third way to use get in is to mean to be admitted. This could be admitted to a particular group or club, but it's commonly used with college and universities. Here's an example. Did you get in at your top choice? This is a yes or no question in the simple past tense. So we're asking, was this person admitted at the college or university where they desired to go the most, their first choice. A fourth way to use the phrasal verb get in is to submit something or apply. Here's an example. We'll get these forms in by Friday. So we will submit them, they will be completed by Friday. This sentence is an example of the simple future. I've used a contraction form, but what you should see in bold there is will get in. And so this could be a promise with this particular example. The next phrasal verb we'll look at is get into. This can also have a number of different meanings. We're going to focus on two. The first is to become involved or interested in something. Here's an example. They've gotten into jazz lately. So maybe this is a group of musicians, so they've become interested in playing this particular style of music. A second way to use get into is, again, to be admitted to a group, a club, or college or university, right? So an example of this, she got into medical school. Okay? This is a simple past tense sentence as well, and it's meaning she was admitted or accepted into that particular university. I forgot to mention in the previous sentence, the first meaning for get into, becoming involved or interested, they've gotten into is an example of the present perfect. Let's take a look at our next phrasal verb. It's get off. And again, this can have so many different meanings. We're just going to look at two. One is to leave a form of transportation. And this is used with trains, buses, bicycles, planes, but it's generally not used with cars, right? So you'll see an example of that with a later phrasal verb. So let's look at an example sentence. He got off the bus and walked a few blocks to work. Here's another simple past tense sentence describing a completed action. He left the bus and walked. A second way to use get off is to refer to ending something. This could be ending your work day, it could be ending a phone call, etc. Here is a question. What time do you get off tomorrow? So this is asking someone, when will your work day end? When is it okay for you to leave work? The next set of phrasal verbs we're going to look at is get up, get on. Right? So again, back to trains, buses, bicycles, and planes. This is when you enter or begin to sit down inside of a particular form of transportation. Here's another example sentence. He got on his bicycle and rode down the street. The next phrasal verb we're going to look at is get out. This can also have so many different meanings. The first could be to leave one's house, and it could be done to socialize. Let's look at another example. We haven't gotten out much lately. You know, this is true for a lot of people during the pandemic. Many people went several weeks and months, if not more than a year, without socializing or gathering with friends and family. This sentence is a negative present perfect example. A second way to use get out is to become known. So something might have been sort of secret or only known by a few people, and when it gets out, many more people know it or know about it. Here's an example of that. The truth will get out eventually. So someone might be saying this to reassure someone who's had rumors spread about him or her. And so this sentence could almost be viewed as like a promise or a prediction as well. It's, again, simple future. Our third way to use get out is to remove something. Here's an example of this. I can't get this stain out. So this might be a sentence or a thought you have as you're doing laundry, right? And there's dirt or maybe a pin bled, it ran, the ink ran out of it, creating some sort of stain, and you hope to remove it. The last phrasal verb we're going to look at today is get out of. And again, this can have many different meanings. We're just going to look at three. The first is to avoid doing something, especially something that is a duty or a responsibility. Here's an example. She got out of doing laundry even when it was her turn. So maybe in this particular family or a group of roommates, they take turns. But somehow she was able to avoid it and someone else did the laundry. A second way to use get out of is to mean to stop some regular activity. Here's an example. I got out of my morning exercise routine and it's so hard to begin again. So I stopped a regular activity is what's meant by that got out of. These last two sentences are examples of simple past tense as well. The last way we're going to look at using get out of means to receive a benefit. So we jump back to that general meaning of receiving something with the verb get. Here's an example of how you might hear someone use it. We're getting so much out of this class. So this might be another way to express we're learning new information, we're learning new skills, we are receiving benefits from attending this particular class. Now, this sentence is an example of the present progressive or present continuous. So we're describing something that's in progress. So maybe this class hasn't ended, it's in the middle of the semester. And so that's why we're using the continuous or progressive form. I think I identified all of the verb tenses here except our last meaning for get out in the sentence. I can't get this stain out. Can't is an example of a modal here. And in this particular sentence, it's talking about ability. So another way to say this would be I'm unable or I'm not able to get this stain out of this particular piece of clothing. Now, let's spend just a couple minutes looking at some other phrases that use our verb get. And the first one we're going to look at today is to get going. What this really means is to begin the process or to start leaving a particular place. So this is a phrase I feel like it might be common in certain areas of the United States, but in others it might sound very foreign, or it just seems like a longer way to say something like we need to leave, we need to get going. And that's the example here. We should get going or we'll be late. So we need to start putting on coats or shoes, gather the things we need in order to be able to leave. The next phrase we'll look at is to get the hang of something. What this means is someone is learning how to do something or they're gaining an understanding of something. Here's an example sentence. It took me a lot of practice before I got the hang of swimming butterfly. To the people who, my former students who watch these videos, they know I love to swim as a form of exercise. And there are four sort of commonly accepted strokes to swimming. One is called the butterfly. If you don't know what it is, I encourage you do a little YouTube search here as you watch to see. It's rather complex in terms of timing your kick and your arm movements. I'm not going to be able to demonstrate though, since I don't have a pole next to me. The third phrase we'll look at today is to get in touch with. This means that you are contacting or you're reaching out to someone in order to communicate with them. Here's an example. I need to get in touch with a plumber. So if someone is uttering this, they're just saying, I need to contact. I need to talk with a plumber. The last phrase we're going to look at today is to get. And really, this goes back to understanding. So it's a shortened way to say that someone understands something. Here's an example. After she explained it twice, he got it. So he understood it after two explanations. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.